Hi, my name is Andrea Wiesner, and this is my comprehensive project of all the things that I have learned in literacy, assessments, and interventions. So I feel like I really got a lot from this course. I felt like I was pretty thoroughly prepared coming into the course, but once I was in there, I feel like I just learned so much information and how to really get into the nitty gritty of teaching some of those assessments and so forth, and really seeing what is best for the child. So, one of the first things I felt like I got a really good grip on was learning more about fluency. I have seen teachers that I work with do fluency reads, and we practiced them a little bit in literacy assessments, and I was really intrigued by them, and I just wanted to learn a little bit more. And specifically, I wanted to be able to perform one and see, what it really is like when you're going through and you're circling the things that the student might reread or mess up on and stuff like that. And so I really, really liked that I was able to kind of do some of these on my own with my tutoring students. I also really liked that although I wasn't able to quite get in to teaching my students more about reading fluently because they are such low readers, I was able to show them though how to read fluently through me. So we read a Magic Tree House book and then an I Survived book. And so through that, I was really able to, talk like as the directions on the PowerPoint show, read like a storyteller. And so I would change my voice to match the mood and change my voice with the punctuation and stuff like that. And I really kind of keyed that in on my students to let them know that that makes such a huge difference when you're reading. You don't sound like a robot, and that makes the stories a lot more interesting. But not only that, but you're able to understand what is happening in the story a lot more. You're able to tell if it's a sad moment or a happy moment or how the characters are feeling. And for one of my students who really struggles with comprehension, that was a big thing for him to see the big difference of how the way you read it can really make a difference on how you are actually able to comprehend it as well as the other readers. The next thing I felt like I got a really good grip on was learning how to teach phonics. So I currently work as a para with fifth grade, and so there is not a lot of times that I'm able to be around phonics because most of the students are so much higher up. And phonics are some of the basics, and so they weren't able to really see that as much. But with my two students, phonics were a huge thing that they needed to build on. One of my students is severely dyslexic, and the other one is a really lower reader, about like a first grade level, both of them. And so it was really nice to be able to go in there and kind of show them how the different parts of the words sound and why they make these sounds and how they can change a word. And so it was really nice to be able to get some experience working with phonics, especially if I go on to maybe teach a younger grade when I will need to use how to learn phonics or teach phonics and stuff. So I really was glad that I got a little bit of my toe in the water on phonics. Another thing that I learned a lot about was comprehension. So, like I said earlier, I have a student who really struggles with comprehension. And so, this was something that not only have I been working on in tutoring, but I was able to put this into practice at my job. So, my student, we take our weekly reading test, and so I was able to kind of really break down the steps and use some of the tools that we talked about to help him be able to comprehend the stories and what he's actually reading. And he takes second grade reading test, and so it was really neat to see the difference when he had dropped down to the second grade reading test to once we finally started working on more comprehension skills, how he was able to kind of pick and choose what was very off the wall versus what was a very good idea that would probably match the story versus before where it didn't matter the answer. It all made sense to him, even if it was very off the wall. I was able to use one of the tools where he would write, after each we split it up to each paragraph, he would write little notes to himself of what he read. And so just a little thing like that, he was able to really kind of stop and say, okay, what did I just read? Versus before, I would say, okay, what did you read? And he would have no clue. And so that was really neat to see that into play, and it really helped with his reading test and his MAP scores, and just kind of helped him connect the comprehension a little bit better and um, summarize what he read. And we always kind of say, like, to make it a movie in your head and so forth. And the last thing I think is really important that I learned is I was able to learn more about differentiating instruction. So although both of my students were at an around a very low level, they both had their different strengths. For example, my student who is dyslexic, he is very, very, very smart. And he is able to comprehend anything. He takes fifth grade reading test and is just above all of his other students, just very bright and very able to understand, versus my other student who really just struggles with understanding the real world logic out of some of those stories. And so I was able to help just from the teaching aspect of my students, where one of them kind of understands a little bit more of the common sense side of it versus the other one who, really struggles with what would make the most sense. And so that was really big for me. I really liked that I could find ways where they both were learning the same information and it didn't point one out, but there was ways I could help them. And that's why I picked the graphic on this slide, is because I really like that it shows that the students are both reaching for the same thing, just one of them has a little bit step closer to make it a little more fair and give them everything, because not everything that's fair is always equal. And so I really liked that I was able to find a lot more strategies with differentiating instruction that I can take into my future career. So I really enjoyed working with all of you this semester, and I hope you guys have a great summer. Thank you.